Reminder, I have a Discord server now. I'm going to keep advertising it until more people start joining it. In the late 2000s, Nick Jr. had no shortage of memorable programming, but if you asked me what was their weirdest show and also my favorite show from this period, at least as a kid, it's a title that sounds like gibberish. Say the ancient incantation with me. Yo Gabba Gabba. Yo Gabba Gabba was created by cousins Christian Jacobs and Scott Schultz, the former better known as the MC Bat Commander of the Aquabats. They had previously collaborated making skateboard and music videos together. After becoming fathers though, they both became dissatisfied with the current state of children's television, and wanted to make a show that would appeal to kids as well as their hipster interests. The only problem, they had no prior experience writing for television, so they went independent, taking inspiration from the children's series of their youth, ranging from PBS classics like Sesame Street, Electric Company, and Zoom, to Sid and Marty Krofft puppet shows like the Banana Splits and HR Pufnstuf, to Pee-wee's Playhouse. And you can definitely see DNA from all of these shows in the final product. At some point in the early 2000s, a test demo was made for Yo Gabba, and the shoestring budget really shows. If it weren't for Plex's voice being identical,
are you sad?
It would be very easy to mistake this for some long-forgotten fan parody. It's only 5 minutes. The only free characters here are Muno, Broby, and Plex. Broby and Muno were both actually reused Aquabats characters. Broby was Weedy the Broccoli Bee. Oh, so that's what he's supposed to be. And Muno was the Cyclopses. Broby speaks in this low, dopey voice, in sharp contrast to his high, childlike voice in the final show.
What's that?
Meanwhile, Muno...
We did it!
I actually might prefer his voice here. He also has the better costume when compared to Plex's and Broby's, which are incredibly shoddy. The former's silver color kind of clashes with the bright colors, and Broby's all cross-eyed. That being said, besides just the characters, you can still see many elements that would be adapted in the final show. The first season segments pretend when Muno and learn what Plex are here, though Muno's green horns and wrist fuzz here noticeably disappear on the green screen, even though they clearly had a blue screen. Maybe this was an inspiration for the redesign. Puzzles with Broby would sort of be split off into 2 season 1 segments, Colors with Broby and Play Games with Fufa. They still had the transitions with the kids dancing and riding on weird toys, and we get the original version of the Try It You'll Like It song, performed entirely in front of a green screen. The 2 additional pilots, Short Story and Play, are much closer to the final show. First of all, they changed the name from Yo Gabba to Yo Gabba Gabba. Apparently it's total nonsense, but the creators liked it because it coincidentally doubled as a homage to the Ramones chant, Gabba Gabba Hey. Yo Gabba Gabba, 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 Yo Gabba Gabba. At some point they decided to implement a human host, which was a very smart idea, since it better grounds the show into our reality, though he is noticeably less prominent and a bit more monotone than in the final show here.
Dinner time. Time to eat. Hey everyone, it's lunchtime. Time to eat.
They also probably thought at some point that they should add female characters for gender balance, and the result was Fufa and Tootie. All the characters have their final voices. Plex and Muno now only have very minor design differences from the final show, and the only major design difference here is that Fufa is really fat. And as good as the costumes got, they still couldn't hide the zippers on the back of Muno and Broby. That and
the mouths don't move!
Minus Broby, you can switch between smiling and frowning. The green screen is also improved. We get the show's iconic theme song, albeit with these cheap clay models and without the kid voices. They remade the Learn with Plex segment, Pretend with Muno, and Try If You'll Like It. They added the 8-bit transitions, which I always wanted to play as a kid. The kid transitions now have them dressed in Yo Gabba Gabba shirts. Many iconic songs make their debut, and several other segments introduced here would be carried over to the final show. The most surprising to see here is Biz's Beat of the Day. They weren't able to get an actual guest star for Dancey Dance Time, or Dance Dance Time as they call it here. So instead we have Julius And in the second one, it's Ashley First, who is a real singer at least, just a pretty obscure one. Julius would be replaced by the singer Mia in the final series episode Friends. Meanwhile, Ashley First would be replaced by the not quite as obscure singer Nikki Flores in the episode Together. We have the Bat Commander, a live-action segment with comic book aesthetics, which would become Super Martian Robot Girl in the final show, and ended off with a remix of all the previous songs with the characters and kids dancing in front of trippy backgrounds. There's only 2 segments that wouldn't be adapted to the final show in any capacity, and understandably so, as they're probably a bit too trippy and experimental even for this show, especially when there's not even any sort of educational slant. The storytime in the second also has a surprisingly dark ending.
The little girl quickly painted a rock to look like a big red jelly bean. When Bubblebeard arrived, he grabbed the rock from the little girl and with one crank broke out all of his teeth and fell back down the cliff into the ocean. All of the unicorns laughed at his toothless grin. The little girl also laughed.
The lack of a theme to tie all the segments together also makes this feel more unfocused than the final show, but I get it. It was supposed to be a proof of concept. Yo Gabba Gabba wouldn't get much attention until the pilot circulated online, including attention from Jared Hess, you know, director of Nacho Libre and Napoleon Dynamite and the Minecraft movie, who recommended it to Brown Johnson, the executive vice president and executive creative director of Nickelodeon Preschool. On August 20th, 2007, Yo Gabba Gabba would make its TV debut.
Stand up and play with us! Yeah! Ready?
Yes, let's stand up. Let's play nice. It's Yo Gabba Gabba. Come on, be the first in line.
You gotta wait in line. It's only fair to wait right there.
To come to the party.
There's a party in my tummy. So yummy, so yummy. There's a party in my tummy.
And break it down.
Can we dance?
Yeah!
Well, let's do it!
Yo Gabba Gabba, let's play nice. Weekdays at 10:30, only on Nick Jr.
Yo Gabba Gabba is hosted by DJ Lance Rock, who in every episode uses his inexplicable magic to bring his 5 friends to life in a magical land called Gabba Land, which is in this white void that is apparently a room that is also very disturbingly alive, as revealed in Birthday. In DJ Lance's Super Music and Toy Room, he enters the titular Super Music and Toy Room through an elevator in the room. But even outside the Super Music and Toy Room, it's just a white void. Also, while most celebrities get beamed in, there are also instances of celebrities just randomly showing up in Gabbaland and in the void. Where do these celebrities come from? At least in Gabbaland, DJ Lance is a god. You might think the star on his hat is the source of all his magic, but no, apparently it's just what helps him create the remixes at the end of each episode.
It's the magic that helps me turn regular music into super remix music!
But in Gabbaland, he is all-powerful and seemingly all-knowing. Many episodes begin with him somehow predicting what ends up happening in the episode.
Hello, friends! Have you ever been scared? Yeah, I know I get scared sometimes, but you know, friends can help us feel better when we're scared. I'm scared.
Either he can see into the future, or he's speaking these events into being. On top of life bestowal with those iconic magic words, he can also fly, control the weather and time, and harness electricity, apparently. Despite the fact that in most episodes they make a point of having Plex beam him down to walk amongst the mortals, in Google, it is very clearly shown that he can just teleport himself both ways. Maybe he uses Plex to humble himself. From his family, we meet his sister Kimba in the Season 2 episode Family, and she later reappears in the Season 4 episodes, the aforementioned DJ Lance's Super Music and Toy Room, along with his father, and in the series finale, Day Camp. But I don't think you can talk about Lance for long without mentioning his right-hand man, Plex, the magic robot. He is the last mentioned in the theme song, despite always being in the center, and rather infamously is the only one without a dedicated realm, just a docking station there in the center. But of the 5 mascot characters, he's actually the most essential. The show would not work without him, being a father figure to the others. And he is now my favorite. He's usually got all the answers, but occasionally, due to being a robot, he is unfamiliar with basic human concepts like fun and high fives.
What is fun. What is a high five?
The reason he doesn't have a land is actually probably because he's the only one who's not a toy.
I programmed Plex, made him our friend.
So he doesn't have a land since he wasn't part of the set to begin with. DJ Lance says he programmed him to be his friend, but I feel like co-parent would be more of an accurate description of their relationship. Maybe DJ Lance wanted someone who could more directly parent his toy children, not having to teleport. Plex is a bit more hands-on when it comes to parenting. And if you're wondering if this portrayal of a family structure with two dads would have any gay undertones, absolutely.
Wow, that kind of tickles.
Keyboard for you.
I love you. He is such a faithful friend, he knows just what to say. I came back to my room to find it.
I've never been here before. I have been here many times.
The only ship in this show that I support. I mean, they're the only two main characters who are canonically adults. Plex is probably only fourth to DJ Lance in terms of power, too, with his beaming technology and arms extendo. Also in the episode Baby, we meet his niece Plexi. Why did DJ Lance build him a niece? I don't know. The other four main characters are a bit harder to pin down personality-wise, which kind of makes sense since they are of the child stand-ins. You can kind of tell that Fufa and Tootie were late additions because they fulfill the two major female archetypes, girly girl and tomboy. Tootie much less so than Fufa though, as she does still engage in stereotypically girly activities every now and then. Broby is the youngest, turning 4 in birthday. Did you notice the 4 realms represent the 4 seasons? Well, I question the connection between Munoland and Summer, but I digress. Muno is pretty consistently portrayed as clumsy.
Why don't we all work together to help Roby rebuild his castle?
What do you mean we? You're not doing anything. They kind of try to explain this in the episode Differences, with it turning out that the reason Muno keeps knocking over block towers is that he has vision problems, which I guess makes sense considering his one eye.
Sometimes my eye plays tricks on me.
And Plex is able to deduce this by looking at his eye through a magnifying glass. Yet later in the season 3 episode Doctor, Plex has to beam in an actual doctor to diagnose Tootie. But I get it, you wanted to encourage kids to go to the doctor. Plex gives Muno one-eyed glasses, but wait, can they still be considered glasses if they're just one eye?
Wow, I need my glasses to see.
Your glasses don't have lenses. Gex is very nice about it, but of course Broby, Tootie, and the Spooky Toast bully him. Don't ask. But then it turns out that the Spooky Toast also needs glasses because karma, I guess.
I think the toast may need glasses.
Though of course, in the end, they come up with an excuse for Muno to wear a contact instead of a glass because you obviously wouldn't want to make a major change to the design of your most marketable character. But I guess it makes sense that the glass wouldn't be able to balance on his head seeing that he doesn't have ears. Though that's only after singing what I consider the quintessential song of the show. This band of mismatched weirdos coming together to make something beautiful. Doesn't that just say it all? All my friends are different, take it slow. That's how it goes, right? So, Muno's clumsiness is resolved, right? Nope, because later that season, Muno clumsily ruins Fufa's painting by kicking some yellow paint on it. And weirdly, they reprise the same song from the Differences episode. Look, obviously Muno isn't being malicious, and as always, he does make up for it in a really sweet way by helping her make a second painting. But when this kind of careless behavior becomes a pattern, it should probably be addressed beyond just, he didn't mean it. Like, maybe Muno should actually put in the effort to be less clumsy and more aware of his surroundings. I know this probably seems overdramatic, but when you consider this as a kids show that prioritizes moral lessons, how they present their moral lessons is really important. Muno is also possibly an alien? Plex isn't the only one whose relatives are shown, as family introduces Muno's family. His father,
I love computers and old cowboy movies.
his mother,
I love chihuahuas and Chinese noodles.
his big sister Chibo,
I love school and baby owls.
and his baby brother Gogo.
He loves being happy.
It's interesting that they decided to introduce an entire traditional nuclear family for Muno, considering the sort of unconventional found family dynamic the main characters already have. And funnily enough, when you go in order from oldest to youngest, the more the characters look like someone's Yo Gabba Gabba OC, Do Not Steal. Though I guess they did a decent job with the varying shades of red. Is the reason Muno liked the green mustache Broby gave him in the Christmas episode because it reminds him of his father? Also, what the hell, Muno? You gave your friend a picture of you for Christmas? I guess this confirms that acne is exclusive to male Cyclops in this universe. Muno's mom also very clearly has boobs, which is weird. All of Muno's family has hair except for him, implying that he's bald. Nice continuity with the baby teeth. This whole thing comes with some weird implications. DJ Lance brings them out of a sparkly pink briefcase to surprise Muno, but then Muno has to ask DJ Lance permission for them to stay the whole day.
Hey, DJ Lance! Can my family stay and play today? I want them to meet the rest of my friends!
And they even show that apparently Muno's family has never met the rest of the Gabba gang before.
Daddy, you stop it.
Very weird for you to call your husband daddy in front of all these children, including your own, though Muno's parents do introduce themselves to Plex, an adult, as Muno's mom and dad.
My name is Plex, how do you do?
And then I say, I am Muno's mom.
So maybe that's just their names.
I'm so full of Dazzleberry lemonade.
How is that a joke?
Wow, it's great! Our glasses were full and now they're empty. There was something in them, but now there isn't.
Our tummies were empty, but now they're full!
Yeah! There was nothing in them, but now we're full.
Did I get it?
Muno's family members would reappear sporadically throughout the rest of the show, but most notably in Baby, where Muno and Broby visit to learn why babies need special care. And Muno's dad remarks,
You're back early from Gabbaland.
implying that Gabbaland is like some sort of daycare. This episode also reveals that the Gabba gang, minus Plex because he's a robot, were all babies at one point, meaning they all somehow age, not just Broby, despite being toys. Maybe they're living beings that DJ Lance turns into toys instead of the other way around like we're led to believe. Also, DJ Lance tries to help Broby remember when he was a baby, like how on birthday he tries to help Broby remember his previous 3 birthdays, and somehow he does. And all the Gabbas wear diapers as babies, meaning they do in fact shit.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
Fufa's older brother, Fuful, first cameoed in Weather, amongst a bunch of characters we had already met besides Muno's family, coincidentally enough. Bro thinks he's on the team. He wasn't properly introduced until Mystery, the plot being that Fufa had to leave to go on a picnic with him, and had her weird androgynous flower friend deliver Plex and Tootie a note.
Hi, are you Tootie?
Not clarifying that Fuful is her brother, even though Plex and Tootie don't know who he is, and she invites them and left a trail of flowers leading to them, which for some reason goes through a spooky cave. Was this really the best route? Also, she adds that Fuful really wanted to meet Plex, which is never elaborated on.
Please bring Plex. Fufu would love to meet him.
It was nice to see a Plex and Tootie adventure. That's not a pairing you'd really expect, though I seriously hope this is not the reason some fans have shipped them. Guys, this is clearly a father-daughter relationship, not a romantic one. They find them having a picnic on the beach, and it turns out Fuful is basically just the male version of Fufa, except an adult surfer dude who is inexplicably Australian.
That's great. We'll have to go surfing together sometime.
Which they actually end up doing in Ride. And finally, he reappeared again in the series finale, Day Camp, as a camp counselor, which also introduces Tootie's little brother, Keaty, a little green version of her. And I think Matthew Gray Goobler might be their dad.
Keaty's visit to the dentist ended early.
A bit late to introduce new characters. Also, Tootie is a bitch, and I guess Broby just has no other family. Season 1, Episode 7, Friends, begins with the characters acting as if they're all just now meeting each other for the first time, because either this is some sort of origin story, or knowing DJ Lance, he probably erased their memories, that crazy bastard, or there is a third explanation that I'll get into much later. Of course, there's plenty of other side characters that appear sporadically, like Archibald the Worm and his babies, Annie and Armand, or the very polite magic ball things. There's the Yo Dazzlers, Rollers, a rock and roll band that allows for the creators to really wear their Sid and Marty Krofft inspiration on their sleeves. There's a reason they got these people when Warner Brothers considered making a straightforward reboot of the Banana Splits before deciding to just go full FNAF with it. Pretty much everything is shown to be alive in Gabba Land. Like in Broby's Forest, there's the smooth talking tree and the
Well, hello! Hi!
Is it wrong for me to imply that he's retarded?
Well, trees are already alive, but you know what I mean. As we all know from the Party My Tummy song, the food actively wants to be eaten. But as revealed in Scary, they only want to be eaten for the consumer's benefit. As when Broby drops a piece of bread on the ground and tries to eat it, the bread begs him not to because it's now covered in tiny ugly germs who want to make him sick. And tells Plex to
Take me to a better place.
And he puts it in his compartment in a scene that feels so unintentionally morbid that it had to be intentional, if that makes any sense. In the next episode, Halloween, it's revealed that Candy is hostile, reveling in making people sick. In Yo Gabba Gabba, between the wraparound Gabba Land segments, there are many mini segments. Often they try to tie themselves back to the overarching theme of the episode, sometimes not. I will list and describe them all now in order from most to least recurring. Every single episode has at least one jingle, all by various music artists and animators and in many different styles, some of which work better than others. Every episode ends with the characters remembering what they did today. In the first season, this simply consisted of the characters dancing to a remix of the 4 main songs in the episode, but in the second season they extended it to include DJ Lance actually recapping what happened in the episode in 3 or 4 points before the remix, leading to the remixes being shortened, which I guess they already would have been since in season 2 they cut down from 4 to 3 songs, though some episodes actually have less than that, so they incorporate the jingles or Super Music Friend shows. The Super Music Friend show is a segment featuring guest musical performances and appears in half the episodes of season 1, but every episode after. In season 2 onward, it's hosted by John Reyes as the Swami.
Story time!
It's a segment consisting of short, simple, and often nonsensical children's stories narrated by children, sometimes with a moral and like jingles. They're animated by many different artists and in pretty much any style you can think of. Again, some work better than others. Mark's Magic Pictures, they are drawing lessons from Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo fame. I guess because he's actually a pretty good artist. They started out simple, but in season 2, we would start seeing the true extent of Mark's magic, revealing him as the second most powerful character on the show behind DJ Lance. With his marker, Mark can create life, immerse himself, can create anything he might need, and is shown to have psychic powers. But maybe the marker controls Mark and not the other way around, as Mark draws where DJ Lance's star is, but isn't immediately able to identify it.
Oh wow, I wonder what that is.
DJ Lance Dance is a segment where DJ Lance demonstrates a new dance move and encourages the kids at home to imitate it. Cool Tricks is dedicated to showcasing various talents, usually from kids, but sometimes actual experienced performers. Numbers counting numbers up and down in various forms.
What are we counting up to? This happened out of nowhere. What is happening?
I don't understand it.
Dancy Dance features celebrity guests, usually demonstrating dance moves for the characters and also probably the kids in the audience to attempt before they drop everything and go crazy. Biz's Beat of the Day, beatboxing lessons from the late Biz Marquis. Funny Faces, same as the DJ Lance Dance, but instead of dance moves, it's funny faces. Knock Knock Joke of the Day is a segment that first appears in season 2. Comedians Jack McBrayer and Paul Scheer perform knock knock jokes to each other, alternating between opposite sides of a door. Super Martian Robot Girl is a segment exclusive to season 1, but kind of sort of reappears in season 3, being featured in a story time. The comic book is passed to one of the 4 kid characters and features the titular character solving simple problems. It's got a very nice comic book style, but is crappily animated in Flash with amateur voice acting.
Oh my gosh, let's like totally start a band.
Also exclusive to season 1, we have Colors with Broby, where Broby encourages the kids at home to guess what color he's thinking of based on 2 clues in the form of a rap, of course. Learn with Plex teaching kids simple tasks in 4 steps, also in the form of a rap. Listen to sounds with Tootie encouraging us to guess a sound, giving us free guesses. Pretend with Muno encouraging us to guess what he's pretending to be, and he then encourages us to pretend with him. And games with Fufa, sometimes matching games, sometimes mazes, again, always free guesses. A forgotten segment is I like to play, or I play. All free times it's people demonstrating drumming. All across the show, reused footage leads to continuity errors. It is rare that they actually reshoot the lead-in and lead-out footage for segments to make sure it matches with the rest of the episode. Like most toddler shows, one of the key aspects is the music. As mentioned earlier, the first season usually had 4 main songs per episode, while after that they cut it down to 3 per episode, less than that in some. The show's creators decided to focus on genres of music that most toddler shows would typically avoid, like hip-hop and punk rock, with good beats but the same repetitive lyrics, which leads to songs that are usually very catchy but sometimes very obnoxious, especially when the characters don't have voices that are very well suited to sing in. None of the voice actors were experienced, so you can tell their idea of character voices is just raising their pitch. I think as the show went on, they generally became better at singing in these voices in a way that was still listenable. Occasionally there are some truly stupid lyrics, and sometimes they don't even try to rhyme.
Cutting with scissors is fun to do, but we have to be careful so we don't get hurt.
I think my least favorite genre of Yo Gabba Gabba song is what I'd call lesson songs, where a group of characters, usually led by Plex, gang up on one or two of the other characters after they make a mistake to shove a moral down their throat. Obviously these are important to have, but it still always comes across as very patronizing and almost cult-like. It's also funny how easily swayed the characters can be sometimes.
I don't want to take a nap. I'm not tired. I want to play.
Tootie, your body needs lots of rest so you can run fast when you play.
Wow. I want to run fast when I play, so I'll go to bed.
And while the lessons themselves are usually fine, they're sometimes presented in a confusing or questionable way, like be nice to everyone and you will have some friends. Should we really be teaching kids to be nice for a reward? Aren't we supposed to be nice because it's inherently good? Should we really be teaching them that being nice automatically wins you friends?
I remember one scene where Fufa was showing everyone a flower that she cut out of paper. How did everyone react? You used scissors? Danger! Danger!
You will die!
Yeah, I think the idea was that she was running with scissors, but it's poorly communicated because the costume probably didn't allow for that level of movement. And it doesn't help that those oversized scissors aren't sharp at all. Earlier in the episode they sing "Don't throw things at friends" to Muno, which seems wrong since Muno didn't intentionally hit Plex, he just wasn't being careful. And Tootie says this:
Mona, you can't throw things at people, especially your friends.
Similarly, in the previous episode, they sing "Hands to Yourself" to Broby, which also seems wrong since he wasn't really being too handsy, he was just, again, being inconsiderate of his surroundings. All of those come from Season 1, but I would like to note that in Season 2, Episode 4, Green, which is the eco-friendly episode, they teach about how carbon emissions negatively affect the environment, but don't do the obvious of telling kids to recycle. Sometimes the way they simplify explanations for kids is kind of charming, though. Like, yeah, maybe this is the way we should be teaching future generations how the world works.
A robot is a mechanical friend made by people to help other people.
I also forgot how much they recycle songs, especially early on.
So there's a party in my tummy.
There's a party in my tummy.
Snacky, snack, 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 snack.
Jumpy, jump, 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 jump. Skip, 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 skip.
The guest songs were a lot more consistently good from the beginning, because they're usually sung by people who can actually sing. There's an occasional dud, but most of these are still bangers. Some of these I couldn't even tell you anything about the songs themselves, but the visuals are burnt into my memory. They'd usually feature indie groups, which is pretty cool, but occasionally you'd see a more familiar face.
Oh my god, it's Weezer!
And of course, since they had Mark Mothersbaugh, they had to get Devo in an episode. In Weather, they actually got Paul Williams to perform Rainbow Connection. How did Disney allow this? It's also always funny whenever they have to censor the band names. In Halloween, the shiny toy guns become the shinies, because I guess you can't even reference toy guns on Nick Jr. The electrocute becomes the electric cuties, because we can't reference electrocution on Nick Jr. And my personal favorites are the killers become Brandy, Ronnie, and Mark, and the black kids become the dance kids. Now, even though they established overarching themes for each episode with the final show, season 1 is definitely the most loose when it comes to most of its theming. Not just in the sense that most of the overarching subjects chosen lead to inherently loose theming, but also fewer episodes try to tell overarching stories with the wraparound segments than what the show would later do, and even when they do, they're much less elaborate than they would become. Season 2 is definitely when they started to have more elaborate stories, and sometimes the guest stars actually play a part in the story, like Amy Sedaris as the Tooth Fairy in the season premiere. And with more elaborate stories came more unique costumes and set pieces for the different episodes. Season 3 is when elaborate stories that require unique costumes and set pieces and guest stars playing actual characters becomes less of an occasional thing and more of the standard, which does make it feel less special, not a subversion of the normal formula, but instead the normal formula. But they still managed to keep the same high quality for the most part, until season 4. Season 4 starts with some of the best format bending episodes of the series, but by the end it really feels like they pushed the format to its limits and now they're just going through the motions. Some episodes are written and directed by the brothers Chaps. You know, the people behind Homestar Runner and
Two more eggs, two more eggs.
Though you wouldn't really be able to tell. To my surprise, there were some episodes that I actively disliked, like Mermaids, which felt very little girl pandering, and is also the only time I noticed autotune being used, and it sounds terrible.
Get out of the sun and really cool down.
And Farm, which sees this show of all shows try and tackle country music, and it's just as horrible as you'd imagine. I already don't like country music, I can't stand modern country music, and this episode has a Yank singing its country song. And once you get to the hoedown, I think it can be officially considered a hate crime.
Hold down, hold down, hold down, hold down.
Why did DJ Lance even want them to work a farm? This is also a few episodes after they stooped so low to rip off nursery rhymes.
Let's be awesome while we wait. Wait, wait, while we wait. Let's be awesome while we wait at our table.
I actually got headaches watching these episodes. And the finale isn't anything to write home about either. It's nice that they have a lot of characters, and they brought back the Roots for another banger, joined by all the characters.
And when we hit the stage, we're doing right every single night.
But besides that, there isn't much for me to latch on to. Though, to be fair, considering how high scale they went with some of the other episodes, it would have been really hard to create a truly satisfying finale at this point, in the standard runtime at least. Though, honestly, the last episode to air, Quest, would have made a better finale, even if it's a generic fantasy adventure, which we've already seen them do much better before. Also, hey, sex offender! If I had to rank the seasons worst to best, they'd go Season 1, Season 4, Season 2, and Season 3. Unsurprisingly, due to it being a core component of the show, there's definitely a correlation between the quality of the music at any given point and the overall quality of the show at any given point. Season 2, Episode 7, Space, premiered on Nickelodeon on February 25th, 2011 as part of the Race to Space event, airing alongside space-themed episodes of other Nick Jr. shows, which would be the last time Yo Gabba Gabba would appear on Nickelodeon, with any remaining episodes premiering on DVD or Noggin / the Nick Jr. channel as late as 2015. But that wouldn't be the last time these characters appeared on Nickelodeon. It's easy to forget how big Yo Gabba Gabba was at one point, since it was kind of a flash in the pan, but for a time it was kind of everywhere. There were books, soundtracks, and DVD releases, flash games, party supplies. Those were all a given and I ate all of it up. Also, Halloween costumes and trading cards. And I'm totally not still bitter that I never got to see them live after getting the concert DVD in my Easter basket when I was 4, alongside Barney live. It totally wouldn't have been a highlight of my childhood. One time my cousin tried to tell me she was there at that concert. Yeah, I'm sure your parents took you all the way to LA just to see Yo Gabba Gabba live in concert. I'm sure there was no closer venue. I also totally wasn't jealous of Dave Grohl's badass Yo Gabba Gabba shoes long before I'd ever even heard of Foo Fighters. Not making that up. This show really did influence my taste in everything, didn't it? Watch this behind the scenes if you want a bunch more people you never knew were Gabba fans, and more of Jack Black being a weirdo.
You rock the block. I'm sorry, I can't answer any of your questions. I just have to praise you. Everything that you ask me comes, only praise happens.
Plus, OK Go. Man, the early 2010s, what a time to be alive. There were toys for both kids and adult collectors, of course. My parents got me all the kid robot toys for Christmas, modeled after the ones used in the show, and I don't know what happened to mine, but now they're stupidly expensive online. Oh well. What is it about Broby that is so hard to get right? The show was a hit with children, hipster parents, and college students alike. It kind of had something for everyone. Yo Gabba Gabba was for Gen X parents what Bluey is for millennial parents. Change my mind. The show would receive numerous accolades. Celebrities were volunteering to be on the show all the time. They appeared in the Macy's parade in 2009. Muno appeared in a Super Bowl commercial in 2010. In fact, the show has been referenced in quite a few commercials. Insane Clown Posse covered Hold Still for their 2012 album Smothered, Covered, and Chunked.
Wiggle, 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 bow. Wiggle, 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 bow. Wiggle, 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 bow. Wiggle, 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 stop. Hold still.
In 2017, there was a spin-off called DJ Lance and the Upbeat Retreat, featuring DJ Lance with his new friends on YouTube, apparently, but if so, it's been scrubbed from YouTube. You can still find the first episode on Facebook from 2018, but I have no idea if there were any others. More recently, the show kind of famously cameoed in an episode of WandaVision. Songs from the show appeared in the Just Dance Kids series, alongside anything else you'd hear on Kids Place Live in the early 2010s. The cast appeared in an episode of Raising Hope in 2011, in a throwaway gag that isn't really that funny.
We don't allow Madison to watch TV, but Daddy gave $1 million to Muno's favorite charity, so they stop by once in a while.
They appeared in Cupcake Wars in 2012 and Top Chef Masters in 2013, Jimmy Fallon a couple times, but now for the main course, the show's various parodies and crossovers. If you're talking about parody humor in the early 2010s, Cartoon Network's Mad is bound to come up. If you were even slightly popular at the time, you were bound to be parodied on Mad. So of course in 2011, they had a Yo Gabba Gabba parody called Yo Gabba Gabba, where we have Lady Gaga in the place of DJ Lance, and in place of the Gabba Gang, we have other prominent celebrities from the time. Taylor, T-Pain, Miley, and Triple H, a professional wrestler. Weird that they didn't keep with the music theme. Lady Gaga tells her friends they can wear anything, but they think they look silly, so they tie her up. And then she turns into a monster and starts attacking the city, only to reveal that it's just a monster movie DJ Lance was watching, only for the same thing to happen to DJ Lance. It's mostly just references for reference sake, not making much of a comment on the show or even the celebrities aside from little jabs anyone could make.
Taylor! She was homeschooled.
But some of the random humor is pretty funny, which pretty much sums up Mad as a whole. Later that year, Yo Gabba Gabba would be parodied in the Futurama episode Yo Leela Leela. Leela visits the orphanarium to read a story, but they ate all the books and she is unable to improvise. So she says she'll come back the next day. She's unable to focus at Planet Express, so she goes to another planet and comes back the next day with a story about a land called Rumbledy Hump, home to 5 colorful creatures who sing simple songs with simple morals. This gets her noticed by an executive from Nickelodeon, who happened to be there that day to test shows with the orphans. And now Rumbledy Hump is a show on Nickelodeon with the Planet Express crew performing the show in large mascot costumes.
The show looks so cute. Kids will love it. And it looks so cruddy. Their ironic hipster parents will love it.
Airing alongside Yo Gimme Gimme, Dora the Destroyer, and SpongeBob SquareBolts.
I interfere with pacemakers!
Funnily enough, the TV exec is voiced by Tom Kenny, a minor actor on the show, but the SpongeBob XB is voiced by Billy West, the voice of half the cast. The show becomes extremely popular, getting tons of merchandise and winning tons of awards, which gives Leela a bit of a big head. Only for it to turn out she based the show off of a real set of aliens on a real planet called Rumbledy Hump. Uh-oh. It's fairly consistently funny throughout, but is a pretty weak plot with some pretty weak parody. So, you know, your average Comedy Central era Futurama episode. 2 years later, in 2013, South Park parodied Yo Gabba Gabba in the episode Tame and Strange. Kyle's little brother Ike is going through early onset puberty, now obsessed with sex as well as Yo Gabba Gabba. Kyle takes Ike to a Yo Gabba Gabba concert where he goes on stage and shows them his cool trick, Tamin' Fufa's Strange, inspired by a Canadian help film he and Kyle viewed earlier in the episode.
Fufa shouldn't be limiting herself to little kids. She's fine, dude.
Which she actually agrees to, completely reinventing her image with Ike as her manager. Yeah, it's a Miley Cyrus reference. More about using a trendy kids show as a vehicle to lampoon a then current event. Though unlike Mad, since it's for grown-ups, it's able to execute a greater juxtaposition between these kid-friendly characters with very adult situations. It's a solid episode, in spite of the rather disposable subplots. In the end, it turns out that Ike's puberty was a result of being given the wrong hormones, and everything goes back to normal.
Oh man, I wouldn't mind hitting that. I bet she's got that hot Puerto Rican strange.
Yeah, I bet she does.
Yay!
For whatever reason, in 2021, Robot Chicken did a Yo Gabba Gabba sketch. Though, to be fair, I don't think Robot Chicken is a show that concerns itself as much with making its parodies relevant. DJ Lance mixes up his briefcase with a different briefcase, leading to the Gabba Gang witnessing a shootout, prompting a Yo Gabba Gabba style rap about death.
What is death? Why do people die? It's one of life's unanswered questions, and no one knows why. You can die today, and you could die anywhere, like that guy whose ear is here, but his teeth are over there.
DJ Lance is able to reunite with his toys before he gets run over.
DJ Lance? DJ Lance? DJ Lance? DJ Lance? DJ Lance? DJ Lance? DJ Lance?
If I had to rank these parodies worst to best, it'd go number 4, Mad, number 3, Futurama, number 2, South Park, and number 1, Robot Chicken. It just does the usual Robot Chicken shtick, putting kid-friendly characters in adult situations, but what can I say, it's the most consistently entertaining throughout. Now what I was alluding to earlier, Yo Gabba Gabba and other Nickelodeon shows. Yo Gabba Gabba had only one full-on crossover with another Nick Jr. show, but before we talk about that monumental event, I'd be remiss not to mention their appearances on 2 live-action sitcoms on regular Nickelodeon. First, in 2010, they guest starred in the double-length True Jackson VP episode, Trapped in Paris.
True Jackson would do anything to go to Paris.
Flight 101 to Paris is now boarding.
Are you sure this is gonna work?
Nope.
When she finally gets there,
There's a car waiting for you out front to take you to the Gustav Mansion.
I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this.
she'll have to do whatever it takes to escape.
You have to come save us.
Where are you?
Paris.
It almost sounded like you said Paris.
I did.
In a brand new True Jackson movie.
How are we gonna get there? Take Uncle Max's jet. How long will it take us to get a pilot? Don't need one. I got the keys.
They'll team up.
Do something. You do something.
Ding dong!
Take action. And try anything.
Are you okay?
It's possible I have several hundred splinters.
Because True Jackson's Trapped in Paris. The brand new movie premieres Saturday, May 22nd at 8.
Jimmy, you came to save us.
Hey, I'm the one who got hit on the head.
Only on Nick.
That promo spoils so much, but not Yo Gabba Gabba, weirdly enough. I don't remember this show at all, which is so odd because it lasted 3 seasons, which is a respectable run for any show, but especially a Nickelodeon show of the era. So clearly it must have been at least somewhat popular, but I never hear anyone talk about it. It left such little impact. The premise of the show was a bunch of kids working at a fashion company because, of course, Nick's sitcom 2007 to 2011, it has to be about kids getting rich. Rush. In this special, the main character, True Jackson, accidentally puts the CEO, Max Madigan's wife's wedding ring in the pocket of a vest which she sends to Paris. So now her and her best friend Lulu have to sneak on a flight to Paris, but find themselves in the mansion of Carl Gustav, played by
Robbie Rotten! Who did you expect? Spoiler flop!
He plans on keeping them in his mansion until they can make his daughter, Carla, a dress that she'll actually wear, which proves rather difficult as she proves to be very picky.
I hate them. You haven't seen them. I hate them.
Where the Yo Gabba Gabba characters come in is that they happen to also be prisoners at the mansion, seemingly for Carla's entertainment.
We're being held captive, but we don't mind.
Like I said, I don't remember this show at all, so I don't know if this level of absurdity was on brand for the show, but it's a really funny gag nonetheless. In fact, Yo Gabba Gabba and Stefan Carl are the only entertaining part of this special for the most part. I honestly had a hard time getting a grasp on the main characters' personalities, and what I did get was very cliche, though Max Madigan seems decent. And for every joke that lands, there's 10 others that fall flat on their face. I can see why people don't talk about this show, and the sad truth is that it probably only made it as far as it did due to how little Nick had going for it at the time. This special also feels a little bloated. If you trim the fat, it easily could have been a standard episode. There are some subplots that feel like they're only there to fill time, and they do the thing where they find an excuse for every main character to be there. True calls the two main guys from the show, Jimmy and Ryan, hot and not, to rescue them, and they stumble upon the Gabba Gang, which excites Ryan as he apparently has a crush on Fufa. I wasn't expecting that to be a recurrent theme.
Hi, Fufa.
The Gabba Gang diverts the guards with one of their dance numbers.
Jump, jump, up and down, hold hands, turn all around.
True is able to give Carla a change of heart very easily, only for her to try and force Ryan to marry him, which he doesn't want to do because he has a girlfriend at home, even though she's embarrassed by him because, lol, he's such a loser. Isn't this incredibly average-looking young man so unattractive?
She won't even sit with you at lunch.
Also, she's apparently into age play.
I guess I look pretty stupid, huh?
Stupid hot.
Ugh. They manage to sabotage the wedding and escape with the ring after the greatest fight scene in anime history. Stefan Carl versus Max Madigan.
That is for threatening to turn my office into a bathroom.
And it ends with Stefan Carl dancing in a church with the Gabba Gang. The most beautiful combination of words ever. This was pretty bad, and I already showed you most of the good parts. So yeah, don't watch it unless you like this show for whatever reason. Let's move on to Big Time Rush. There was actually a lot of precedent for Big Time Rush and Yo Gabba Gabba doing a crossover. Yo Gabba Gabba was referenced as early as Big Time Rush's pilot.
Boys in the Attic, Madonna, Beyonce, and Yo Gabba Gabba.
And Broby already cameoed in the episode Big Time Halloween.
Friday, in the first ever Big Time Rush Halloween special, the boys are rocking a whole new look. But can they change back?
I need to not be a vampire fast.
Before their big night?
Why would you ask, will Gustavo be able to change them back if you're gonna show them being changed back? Where is the suspense? Also, Patchy the Pirate from SpongeBob guest starred in Big Time Beach Party. Bottom line, it wasn't far-fetched for Big Time Rush to have this kind of wacky crossover with Yo Gabba Gabba, which would happen in 2013 with the episode Big Time Cameo. As of this video, the last time the characters of Yo Gabba Gabba have ever appeared on Nick.
Next Thursday, it's the strangest Big Time Thursday ever. What? With evil stepmothers.
Turn that red light off, it's melting my skin.
Weird disguises.
There's a bear in the lobby.
And Yo Gabba Gabba?
Hey guys, what's up?
Security.
Find out what's going on in a brand new Big Time Rush. Next Thursday at 8, followed by a brand new Wendell and Vinny.
Man, they really did not know how to advertise this episode. Unlike True Jackson VP, I actually do remember Big Time Rush, mostly from my sister watching it when it was still making new episodes, and have seen a handful of episodes over the years. And to sum up my feelings on it, while not actually that funny, besides Gustavo, there is definitely a charm to it that keeps me and others coming back to it. And this is probably one of the better episodes I've watched. The plot is that the dogs are set to cameo on Coco.O, a very obvious but pretty funny satire of Disney Channel sitcoms. Because despite wanting to be Disney at this point, Nick still wanted to seem all cool and edgy in comparison. Nick does what Disney don't. Though it could also be a parody of other Nick-coms, it's notable that a year before this, BTR guest starred in an episode of Nickelodeon's How to Rock, with an almost identical plot to the episode of the In-Universe show.
Saturday, Big Time Rush guest stars on a brand new How to Rock.
I need you, and you to perform in my campaign rally. What's it gonna take? Oh boy.
In this episode of How to Rock, Casey Simon is running for president. She comes to one of our autograph signings and basically asks us to come and perform at her school dance. We go and we help her out and we come and do a song for her.
It looks like Big Time Rush is not gonna make it to the dance tonight.
And also, Fred Figglehorn himself, Lucas Cruikshank, cameos at the end of this episode. Weird they didn't advertise that. And just a month before this, BTR had crossed over with Marvin, starring Lucas Cruikshank, which also happened to be the last episode and only hour-long special of that show, and makes the lore very confusing.
What happens when Marvin meets Big Time Rush?
Hey, Marvin. We hear you have some pretty sweet dance moves.
Oh, I'm gonna guess.
Well, let's see it.
Yeah, man,
come on. I think we should do it now.
We've heard all
Powerless against your human music.
Big Time Marvin. Don't miss the new 1-hour special with guest stars Big Time Rush.
Go! I can do this all day. Go!
Saturday, February 23rd at 8.
There's some hypocrisy with how they kind of poke fun at Disney shows' pedal and pop acts.
Coco uses her music chip to sing a rockin' song, launching Dara's music career.
Though they balance it out with some well-executed, self-aware humor.
All I'm saying is that if we had our own show, it wouldn't be filled with random gags and cartoony sound effects.
I didn't like everything about this episode. They give the main actress on the show a comically evil step-stage mom, which I didn't find funny and is kind of uncomfortable, though that's due to circumstances out of the show's control. Also, I didn't care about Carlos's romance with this random actress who was obviously just a one-off. Also, I found it weird that Katie tagged along for this plot, unless there's some lore I'm missing here. But of course, what I really should be talking about is how Yo Gabba Gabba is represented in this episode. Just like True Jackson VP, it's in a satirical way where you can laugh at that baby show that your little siblings watch. With the Gabba gang functioning like a hive mind, trying to get James and Lucas to stop stealing from the snack table with their repetitive songs. Kind of similar to how they're depicted in the South Park episode, now that I think about it, which, funnily enough, aired later that same year. And another weird running theme in these parodies and crossovers is Yo Gabba Gabba being a show, but the characters also being actual people in these worlds. Though for whatever reason, only Fufa, Plex, and Proby are present here.
Listening is good. Listening is good. Security.
But the dogs are able to convince them to share the food in exchange for appearing on the show, singing this ever-catchy tune.
I love to share with my friends. It's never any fun by myself.
Oh, and of course the dogs have to sing a song at the end, which was alright. While this episode was overall much more entertaining than the True Jackson VP episode, I have to say I find Yo Gabba Gabba's appearance in that episode to be a bit funnier, largely due to the inclusion of DJ Lance being ever enthusiastic, despite the in-universe circumstances. Though this might have had more involvement from the actual creators of Yo Gabba Gabba. On top of Voice and Plex, I'm pretty sure that's Christian Jacobs as the security guard. Now to talk about the cultural milestone, Yo, Fresh Beats Go Gabba Gabba, which coincidentally enough was the last episode of the Fresh Beat Band to premiere on Nickelodeon. Truly the end of an era.
Hey, I'm Twist from the Fresh Beat Band, and we're hanging out backstage with our friends from Yo Gabba Gabba!
For the first time ever, Yo Gabba Gabba and the Fresh Big Band are doing an episode together.
The songs and the big dance numbers are incredible. But don't take my word for it. Check them out yourself.
Performing with the Gabbas is just so much fun. They have so much energy, and we just have a great time.
And we all have a lot in common.
Muno and I are buddies because he knows what it's like to be taller than everybody else. So we see eye to eyes.
Singing and dancing with the Fresh Beat Band is awesome!
You're gonna want to be there.
You don't want to miss it.
Check it out.
It's gonna be awesome!
Don't miss the premiere of Yo Fresh Beats Go Gabba Gabba, Friday at 11:30 on Nick.
Weirdly, this is the only time I remember from my childhood that two Nick Jr. shows did a crossover episode. Outside of this, there were video games and bumpers, I guess, and Nick Jr. Mega Music Fest, but this is the only crossover episode. I don't count Blue's Clues and Blues Room or Dora the Explorer and Go Diego Go, because those were blatant sister shows. It's kind of odd they never did another one, but these were probably the two shows that made the most sense. Yeah, the animated shows aesthetically and conceptually would have made more sense, especially the ones that already had video game crossovers, but they're both live-action music shows, so it fits. If I haven't already established it, I was utterly obsessed with Yo Gabba Gabba as a kid. Meanwhile, I liked Fresh Beat Band fine, I guess. But either way, when I saw the two were crossing over, it got my attention, and I watched it not long after it came out. Fresh Beat Band was fairly popular from memory, but didn't have the adult and countercultural appeal that Yo Gabba Gabba had. Comparatively, the Fresh Beat Band felt very corporately manufactured. The plot is that Plex has the hiccups, which apparently causes his beaming technology to malfunction, sending them to random locations, and apparently he and the rest of the gang are on the way to meet Tootie at the beach. But it happens that one of the random locations they get sent is the Fresh Beat Band's Singin' Pizza Cafe, which means we see Harper, the only character who I might actually hate more than Twist. I'm not kidding. So now the Fresh Beats have to help cure Plex's hiccups and help the Gabba Gang make it to the beach, while singing songs from both shows, but mostly Fresh Beat Band, and mostly the songs they had already sung in a lot of episodes of the Fresh Beat Band, with only one new song, which is bad news for me, seeing that while I can appreciate good kids music like from Yo Gabba Gabba, the Fresh Beat Band is just about the most generic pop crap of the era. Yeah, this episode in general leans very heavily towards the Fresh Beat Band side of things. The only Yo Gabba Gabba songs they sing are Peekaboo, Get the Sillies Out, and Keep Trying. Not bad choices, though the latter two are poorly mashed up with the Fresh Beat Band's Bananas and I Can Do Anything, respectively. They also break out into It's a Party in My Tummy at one point.
Cause there's a party in my tummy. So yummy, there's a party in my
I like how in the theme song they have the Fresh Beats creep up on DJ Lance at the start, but besides that they just insert footage of the Yo Gabba Gabba cast and from the episode. They don't actually alter the song at all. They also randomly introduce a troublesome gear inside of Plex named Guillermo, and act like he's just been here all along.
That Guillermo, always causing trouble.
Despite this, it feels like they carefully built this episode around assets they could reuse from Gabba episodes. Like they go to space because the Gabbas already went to space, and they do a generic western scene because Gabba already did a generic western scene where they also did a kid-friendly shootout using food items. Yo Gabba Gabba was never above reusing assets, but this is ridiculous. It's clear that Gabba had already wrapped production at this point. Gooble is the only non-main Gabba character to appear here, rather randomly in the Old West segment, and boy is he in poor shape. Wherever they were keeping him, they were not taking good care of him. For some reason, the Fresh Beats and Gabba Gang acknowledge each other as if they met before.
Hey, check it out! It's DJ Lance!
Hey, shout!
Yet the Fresh Beats and Harper still refer to them as Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
So are they simultaneously real people and TV characters in this universe too? And it has your usual Fresh Beat Band problems, like the episode desperately trying to meet that 22-minute mark with pointless songs and subplots, and Twist being an obnoxiously smug attention whore.
That's tumbleweed. That's tumbleweed. Run. Hide. Hide. Everybody run. Hide me. Putting out. Shoot. Shoot. Get. Totally. Hide me, Muno.
I have a feeling we're not in Gabbaland anymore. I'm Toad Friendly. I'm the little green one. I'm a magic robot.
And now I'm Fufa, pink and happy.
If I had to guess, the Gabba creators probably had minimal involvement in this, when you consider their disdain for shows like The Wiggles and the Doodle Bops.
We'd be sitting down and watching something on TV that we're like, ooh, like Doodle Bops or something. We're just like...
My kids weren't allowed to watch The Wiggles, and no offense to The Wiggles, but...
I highly doubt they were fans of the Fresh Beats.
Yeah, and here's a real joke. Creative consultant Joseph Barbera. That means they just went up to him every day and asked, "Is this destroying your creation? Is this nothing like your original vision?" Yes. Good!
All of this being said, it is still miles better than True Jackson VP. If you are at all nostalgic for either of these shows and or this era of Nick Jr. and Nickelodeon, you might get something out of it. Of course, after all that, you're probably wondering, what are my favorite episodes of Yo Gabba Gabba? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I now present to you my personal top 10 Yo Gabba Gabba episodes. The episodes I would most recommend you watch if you're feeling nostalgic for this show. You could watch the rest, but I'd probably only recommend that if you were a super fan like me and really want the memories to flood back to you. Or maybe there are other episodes that stand out more to you from your childhood. Number 10. Super Spies. The last great episode in my opinion. The Gabbas are having a balloon art party with Baloney as the judge, and there's actually some continuity with art with Tootie's art skills.
Tootie, that is great art. That looks beautiful. Your art does too, Tootie.
At that moment, the Super Music Friends show comes on, much to the confusion of DJ Lance, who wasn't expecting it so early.
I wasn't expecting a Super Music Friends show now.
As it turns out, the Super Music Friends show has been hijacked by a bad spy, played by Jason Bateman, who uses the song as a diversion while he takes off with all the Gabba's balloon art. Since Bateman is the bad spy, the Gabbas decide to be the good spies to stop him, and Plex conveniently has a bunch of cool spy gadgets ready for them to use. Suspicious.
It's all part of the plan. More or less.
They even get help from Baloney, leading to a catchy song number. Then we get a solid jingle with a cute animation style. No one suspects a thing. Haha, piss joke. Hey kid, why are you dancing to that song? I like to dance! Look, DJ Lance even donned his detective fit from Mystery. They all use their respective gadgets to chase down the bad spy in a new car for some reason, in a Gabbaland that seems a lot bigger for some reason. But in the end, he gets away, which gets them so upset they start rhyming for no reason.
We're all okay.
But the bad spy got away!
To lift their spirits, DJ Lance lets them listen to the Super Music Friends show, for real this time. And this is definitely one of the best in my opinion. In searching for the bad spy, they decide to start with the secret lair right around the corner in Moonoland, which means that Bateman rode all the way to one end of Gabbaland just to turn back around to his lair on the other side. But uh-oh, Bateman has robot guards. To get past them, Plex uses his sneak snap camera to turn them into robots, cover them in tinfoil so they can pretend to be robots. Very much like the Lego movie, though this actually predates it by nearly 2 years. And wait, why does Plex need tinfoil? He's already a robot. Fufa manages to take back their balloon art via slow-mo.
Now was a bit anticlimactic.
I never wanted to be a bad spy.
Bullshit! Of course, since this is the baby show, we have to have the bullcrap ending where the bad guy apologizes and they all become friends. Because we weren't yet ready to confront the reality that some people can't be redeemed. He says he loves art but never knew how to make his own, which is why he resorted to serial art theft. Kind of like Adolf Hitler. The Gabbas say they'll teach him and let him join the party. Even the robots are invited, despite being
super duper boring to hang out with.
And of course, we finish it off with one last song showing off all the balloon art with Bateman getting first prize, which I'll assume was just a peace offering, seeing that his art was definitely the least impressive. I don't know what it is about this episode that makes it stand out from the rest of the back half of season 4 to me. It's definitely partially nostalgia, since this is the only one from that chunk I actually remember watching as a kid, but then again, I think I have a vague memory of seeing a clip from that Mermaids episode on the Nick Jr. website and thinking it was completely lame even back then, so that can't be the only reason. It's not just me, right? The songs in this one are much better than they are in the surrounding ones. It also helps that the spy genre is an exciting one that they hadn't tackled before, so it feels a lot more fresh. And Jason Bateman is a highlight with him hamming it up as a villain and with his weird singing.
Made a sombrero and she made a statue, and look what I made, balloons of all my new friends.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
Number 9. Show. This might seem like a cheap pick since this episode is mostly just a compilation of previous Super Music Friends shows, but hey, I said before that the Super Music Friends shows are usually some of the best songs in the show, and they made some very solid picks here, minus Mama Loves Baby, but that comes down to taste, I suppose.
Just because it's different doesn't mean it's scary.
By I'm From Barcelona, The Killers with
Space Adventure, it's an adventure in space.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
By The Shins, having the encore be the Roots with Yeah, they clearly knew what some of their best songs were. Besides that, it introduces some interesting lore about the Super Music Friends shows. Inside the screen this whole time, the show has been filmed on a stage in front of a live studio audience. Though we actually previously saw the Gabbas go inside the screen in band to back up a Lady Tigra. And hey, I wasn't a big fan of that performance either. Though there, Plex beamed them in instead of DJ Lance using his crazy powers. It also broadcasts underwater as seen in Mermaids. We also find out here that DJ Lance is apparently old friends with the host, the Swami, who is the third most powerful character on the show with his teleportation and weird psychic powers. Besides all that, we've got what feels like leftover footage that they decided to make use of by putting it in this episode. Randomly placed kid transitions, cool tricks of a guy eating lunch while playing the drums, a DJ Lance dance, and this random animation. It's a filler episode for sure, but that doesn't make it any less fun. Number 8. Fairy Tale. If you were a preschooler in the early 2010s like me, then you would know that for whatever reason, toddler TV was obsessed with fairy tales around that time, with it feeling like every baby show had to have at least one episode dedicated to one or more fairy tales. Hell, on PBS there was a whole show about it. Even VeggieTales, the direct-to-DVD series, started having a ton of fairy tale based episodes at the turn of the decade. So of course, Yo Gabba Gabba was bound to hop on the trend. I very distinctly remember my first time watching this on TV. For whatever reason, I remember my dad not wanting me to watch it, but I told him it was a new episode, so he relented. That was definitely not true, but it was at least new to me. I also remember feeling a bit too old to be watching it, but if these dates are to be believed, I would have been 5 at the oldest. So what's your problem, Dad? DJ Lance tells everyone to gather around for a story read out of the Storytime book. This story being the fairy tale of Jack and the Beanstalk. And the Gabbas all decide to be characters in the story. So the bulk of the episode is a reenactment of Jack and the Beanstalk with some alterations. Like instead of trading a cow for magic beans, Muno as Jack trades their bean machine that he was supposed to get fixed for magic beans, sold to him by Fufa and Tootie, singing a catchy song on the way. The jingle here is cute and has a nice pop-up book style to it. Plex as Jack's dad instead of mom discards the beans who can talk and have faces, which I guess isn't actually out of the ordinary in this world. world. And Muno sings a heartfelt song while backed up by the beans, the moon, and the stars, and as he prepares to sleep on the hard floor. Wait, where did Plex go? This house has only one room. After that, we get a Super Music Friends show from the Flamin' Lips. This one I'm actually not a big fan of. It's one of those where you realize they probably didn't have the song ready when they filmed the characters because their dancing doesn't match it at all.
See if you can be a lion.
Look at this transition. Why can't this be the episode? Because Muno believed the magic beans grow into creepy beanstalks who seem way too eager to be climbed by Muno.
We're just friendly beanstalks. We're big enough for you to climb up. At the very top, there's a magical place to visit with really friendly people.
Bad touch! Bad touch! Stranger danger!
Which leads to another catchy song.
Climb up our beanstalk. The beanstalk, the beanstalk.
Muno finds himself in Cloud Cuckoo Land, where he finds a talking golden bean machine, which he decides to steal while sneaking past Broby the giant, who is also a wizard, which is weird that they bothered adding that detail considering it's ultimately irrelevant.
The golden bean machine is my best friend.
And Muno immediately gives it back once Broby follows him down. Yet Broby still rats him out to Plex, who is surprisingly unfazed at the sight of a giant.
Oh, wow, hello.
Of course, again, because this is a toddler show, everyone is happy in the end. But it works better here because the giant is actually shown to be a pretty friendly guy from the start. Broby tells him that he can't eat gold and that the beanstalks can provide plenty of beans, meaning this was all pointless. What a great story.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
Number 7, Dress Up. This episode starts off with the characters simply trying on many different hats, while singing of course, before we see them act out a generic western, mostly in song, with Plex playing a musical narrator of sorts, while Muno is the good cowboy picking up chicks in the saloon, before Broby walks in as a bad cowboy and challenges Muno to a showdown, which ends up being a banana eating contest, with the bananas being a substitute for guns. Wait, where have I seen this before? Of course, Muno wins, Broby is shown the door, and it ends as Muno walks off into the sunset. Then we get a generic fantasy adventure, again done almost entirely in song, with Fufa being a princess trapped by an evil dragon played by Tootie, who is defeated by the hero Broby and his new unicorn friend Muno by using a magic crystal given to him by the wizard Plex.
Guys, I'm still frozen over here.
So wait, was it actually magic? I prefer this to episodes like Fairy Tail, not just because we get to see them tackle 2 genres instead of just one, but the fact that they don't try to fully immerse us in the stories creates a very infectious, childlike energy, with it feeling like a very authentic portrayal of the way kids play pretend. There's also a solid jingle and Super Music Friends show in there.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
Number 6, Birthday. It's Broby's 4th birthday, and literally everyone is celebrating. Of course, since it's a toddler show, we have to indulge a little bit into the not-so-forgotten birthday trope, with Broby assuming his friends have forgotten his birthday, literally as they're putting together a surprise party. Broby says,
"They must have forgot me again."
Which is odd, since we've seen the pictures and flashbacks at the beginning. The only one where seemingly none of Broby's friends showed up was his first. In fact, on his 3rd birthday, Fufa gave him his pillow sake, so Broby is a lying asshole. Ultimately, DJ Lance pretty much spoils it by telling Broby that his friends have a surprise in store for him.
Well, Broby, I think everyone is getting ready for a big surprise.
They even leave Broby out of the dancey dance when Melora Hardin, who apparently doesn't have the same inexplicable time constraints as all the other dancey dancers, who always
I gotta go,
and uses passive aggression to manipulate the Gabbas into letting her stay for the party.
I guess it looks like you guys kind of need to move on to your birthday party, and so I guess I should go.
What a bitch. The songs in this one all slap, including It's a Party for Broby, which is a much better version of Making Presents from Christmas.
Making presents for our friends. It's a party for Broby.
So good that even the scenery join in. The jingle in this one is a huge earworm, featuring these weird discount Seussian creatures. Biz gives Broby a special birthday beat while wearing his best Broby cosplay.
Happy birthday to
Bro Pete. Cool Tricks is hosted by the show's art director and brother of Christian Jacobs, Parker Jacobs, who instead of demonstrating an actual talent, pretends to bake a life-size Broby birthday cake, which admittedly always looked very tasty. But we might have a problem, Parker, because your cake has noticeable vision holes. At the party, everyone is there. DJ Lance even beams himself down to join the festivities. Parker rolls in the cake, and surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, considering the show we're watching, it comes to life, and to make things even more disturbing, has a child's voice.
Because today, you're 4 years old.
I feel like even if it wasn't alive, I'd feel a bit weird about eating a life-size cake made in my image. But Broby eats it without hesitation, and much like the other fruit on the show, it seems eager to be put out of its misery.
Now you want a piece of me?
And he blows out his candles with help from a soundbite that'll sound very familiar to you if you're anything like me. But that's a video for another day. And Broby's present is a pair of Chuck E. Cheese looking shoes, despite not wearing shoes. And we finished the celebration with the Super Music Friends show. Happy, Happy Birthday, performed by the Ting Tings. You know, annoying. It's a song you can tell wasn't written for the show. Number 5, A Very Awesome Christmas. The show's second Christmas special and a big improvement over the first. Right off the bat, they make it feel special with a unique intro. The characters all dressed up for Christmas, snow everywhere, jingle bells in the background, a new logo, and you can tell they were really trying to make it feel like an old-timey Christmas special with the way they announce all the guest stars in the intro. The whole thing is also set in this colorful gingerbread house where most of the guest stars show up in person, including Mark, of course, who's just playing his keyboard outside in the snow alone. Leslie is also here, of course, singing in a choir joined by a handful of random cameo characters. Tony Hawk also randomly shows up at one point, who had previously guest starred in Move, my favorite episode of the season.
What present would you make for Santa, Tony Hawk?
Alongside this random snowman, and evidently just by putting googly eyes on fruit, they were able to bring them to life as a gift for Santa. We get our mandatory Hanukkah and Kwanzaa name drops to show that we're being inclusive.
Look at the beautiful menorah. And that's a Kwanzaa Kanara.
The jingle is cute both aesthetically and musically. The story time is cute both aesthetically and story-wise. All the songs slap, including the MCR song, of course. One of the best Super Music Friends shows. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without disturbingly skinny Santa showing up to tell them the true meaning of Christmas. Just an all-around very solid Christmas episode. Number 4, Gooble. A major recurrent character you might have noticed I haven't really talked about up to this point is Gooble, a perpetually sad ghost who can turn invisible and glow in the dark. Now, this probably doesn't seem out of the norm. There are plenty of toddler shows with perpetually miserable characters. Not really meant to think about it. Like those other shows, the characters are usually nice to him regardless. Usually.
Google, go cry somewhere else.
And it's usually mostly treated as a joke. But Yo Gabba Gabba is different. It doesn't leave it at that. Yo Gabba Gabba seeks to make an entire episode actually addressing Gooble's misery, with the Gabbas trying to cheer him up. And in the end, all it takes is to see that his friends care about him for Gooble to finally smile. They kind of ruin this by having him still be miserable in the episodes we see him in after. But for this one episode, it was very sweet. On top of that, it's another one with a lot of cameos. The songs are solid, all 2 of them. This is the one where they have to throw the Super Music Friends show into the remix at the end, which is also very good in this one, alongside the jingle. Google Land looks sick as hell. One thing very consistently good about the show is its production design. The Twilight Zone homage is cute, along with this discount Seinfeld music. And with all the different costumes and spooky theming, it's technically a Halloween episode. So we got the 2 season 4 second and much better than the first holiday specials in a row. Weird how these past 3 episodes have all been connected in a similar way. Despite that, the scariest thing in this episode is definitely the story time. Ugh. A very solid episode, but one thing it doesn't actually do is answer the question of why was Gooble sad to begin with? Well, I have a theory. You've probably noticed that Gooble was made from the exact mold as Muno. It's something I even noticed as a kid. And in fact, the Gooble costume was made from a rejected Muno costume, according to a blog post from Parker Jacobs. Gooble is in fact a ghost. And considering DJ Lance's many powers, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that he could create a replacement replacement Muno from scratch if need be. Gooble doesn't first appear until season 1 episode 6, Happy, cameoing during the Super Music Friends show in that episode. The very next episode, Friends, is the one where Muno starts off acting as if he's never met his usual friends before. But take special note of this part.
Hey, what's your name?
You know.
Fufa clearly recognizes Muno, but Muno doesn't recognize Fufa. So what if Google is actually the ghost of a previous Muno, and DJ Lance swiftly replaced him? And the reason Google is eternally miserable is because he is forced to watch as his replacement completely takes over his life, while his old friends are none the wiser, because he desperately yearns to rejoin that gang, but knows he never truly can. But hey, that's just a theory. Number 3, DJ Lance's Super Music and Toy Room. This is one I've already mentioned several times, and there's a reason. It's one of my favorite episodes. I remember first seeing this one on Nick Jr.'s website and being amazed at how, for just one episode, they completely trade in the usual framing device for a completely different one with an entirely unique intro, and it still amazes me today. It starts off like any other episode, with DJ Lance walking in that same white void, only to completely throw you for a loop by having him ride that elevator up to the titular Super Music and Toy Room, a location we've never seen before. So already we've got a change of scenery, a room filled with all sorts of knickknacks, including plenty of Easter eggs from previous episodes. Clearly a reflection of the creators being big collectors of such things themselves, especially when the child surrogates have to be taught to ask before touching. Definitely comes from personal experience. We meet DJ Lance's British frog friend Croaky, voiced by Patton Oswalt. We meet his father and see the return of his sister. But more impressive is how they managed to incorporate most of the usual segments just in an unconventional way. All the songs slap, including the Super Music Friends show, and all of the recurring guest stars make in-person appearances. Mark and Biz join the party doing their thing, of course. Leslie Hall is also here, you know.
Watch out for my body rolls, watch out for my body rolls.
She never had her own segment, but she had to be here. She was on the show all the time. And Paul and Jack of Knock Knock Joke of the Day are outside to do knock knock jokes. As someone who grew up watching this show, this episode is just way too cool to ignore. An easy pick for the top 10. Number 2, Circus. This is one that really only gets this high because I am such a fan of the guest star prominently featured, which guaranteed it a high spot on my list regardless of its other qualities. Weird Al is one of those people that seems like a given that he'd show up at some point, given his extensive history of appearing in kid shows. But this is actually before he would voice act in every cartoon ever. Al doesn't quite have the same screen presence as, say, Jack Black, but let's be honest, few people do. He's still very likable and witty with a great energy. The soundtrack is solid, including the jingle, nice style. Mark gets in the circus spirit, jumping through a hoop. I think the main entertainment factor besides Weird Al comes from seeing each character's role in the circus. All the new outfits, props, and set pieces that come with it. Something I found myself thinking about is that I've never actually been to a circus, nor do I have much desire to at this point. So this is one of those things where my perception of it was entirely based on shows like this. Oh, and Sarah Silverman also guest stars here, teaching how to be a mime while talking, which seems like cheating to me. In fact, Al is the one who ends up having to tell Muno that mimes don't talk.
Shh! No speaking! A mime doesn't talk with words.
Yo Gabba Gabba!
Number 1, New Friends. Yeah, there was no way this was ever not gonna be number 1. There's a reason this was the episode I decided YouTube poop all those years ago. God damn. It has always been the standout, most memorable episode to me, and it still holds up, for the most part. It broke the formula. This is the first time they built an entire story around a guest star. Jack Black gets stranded in Gabbaland, which was definitely DJ Lance's doing, despite him denying it.
Today we are gonna make some more friends. That sounds like some new friends now.
Yeah, this episode really adds to the confusion of where exactly Gabbaland is.
Head straight down this road, fly straight, then stay to your right until you find the highway.
And he gives the show a much-needed straight man, someone who isn't used to the insanity. But where they kind of fucked up is that they made his best friend a talking bike, so why is this so scary to him? But that's a nitpick. He's also a dynamic character, going through an arc of learning to be friends with the creatures of Gabbaland. The songs in this one are all great, I know them all by heart. It's not fun to get lost and not know where you're going. I wonder who lives here. I wonder if they are scary. New friends put smile on my face. I'm so very happy that you're visiting my place. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. The goodbye song was previously sung in Greetings by the Magic Ball Things, but you wouldn't even remember that if I didn't tell you, because this rendition completely blows that one out of the water. It's not even just the vocals, they also went way harder on the instrumental. In my YTP, I joked that the jingle was creepy. While I like the pencil sketch style, I'm not a fan of these designs. Obviously, Jack Black completely steals the show here. I know people are getting tired of him, but that's just because he's such an overused actor. It's easy to forget there's a reason he became popular. He has a great screen presence, he's funny. His singing, his weird dancing, all his over-the-top reactions and deliveries.
No way, Tootie, you're the greatest jumper ever!
It's all perfect. It really seems like he was having a blast. Kinda sucks we couldn't get a Tenacious D performance. Also, Jack Black is wearing the same outfit here that he wore in Take 2 with Phineas and Ferb. Jack Black was still everywhere around this time, just not in every trailer, I guess. It's a shame Jack never made it back to Gabbaland, but that just makes this episode all the more special. And for all that, I think this deserves to be called the best Yo Gabba Gabba episode of all time. At least, as of now. On September 10th, 2021, Wild Brain announced that Yo Gabba Gabba would be brought back for a new season of 20 episodes from the same team as the original show. However, we wouldn't get more news on it until April 10th, 2024, when it was announced that it would be not 20, but 10 episodes, which would premiere on August 9th, 2024 on Apple TV. After the first episode was posted as a sneak peek on YouTube on August 8th. Apparently it was originally set to premiere in late 2023, but got delayed due to one of the lead editors stepping down after back surgery and budget cuts. It was also filmed in Utah.
Nothing bad ever happens in Utah.
No other jokes I could possibly make about this show of all shows being made in Utah. The most significant change is that DJ Lance is replaced as host by Cammy Cam, played by Cameron Smith, an actual child, which is an odd choice as DJ Lance was always very much a parental figure in the original show, and of course was much beloved by kids and adults, the true face of the show. And Lance seems to have very much enjoyed his time on the show and still even continues to play the character on social media, making this all the more baffling. If they want a new blood, that's fine, but it would have been a much easier pill to swallow if maybe they started the show with us actually seeing DJ Lance passing the torch to the new host. You know, like a certain other preschool reboot, which that one didn't even really need to do that, seeing that the show had already switched shows before, so less people would probably question it. Instead, it begins with the Gabba Gang being like, "Who the hell are you? Where the hell are we?" So I can just assume she kidnapped them from Lance. She also has a considerably smaller presence when compared to Lance. She doesn't host funny faces, the puppets lead the recap at the end, and even in the theme song, it's instead of considering she's an actual child, I can respect it if they don't necessarily want to make her as much of the face of the show like with DJ Lance. Overall, it seems to be a very respectable reboot, changing just enough to make it feel distinct from the original show, which was good considering how the original show became at the end, while still maintaining the spirit of the original show. The world feels much bigger. Storytime now has an adult and child taking turns. They have a good mix of old segments and new segments which feel like natural inclusions. The Super Music Friends show has lost its brand in with them just running into the bands. Instead of going crazy, the characters get silly for whatever reason. Is Go Crazy considered un-PC now? Am I going to be cancelled? I don't know, I doubt it. Man, the Yo Gabba Gabba reboot is woke. They also have kids doing witchcraft.
What were they thinking?
Though more importantly, the music is still pretty damn good. Along with new characters and faces, old characters and faces return. Though one that doesn't, because he can't, is Biz Marquis, as he passed away just under 2 months before the reboot's announcement. So instead, carrying on his legacy, we have Beat of the Day, with a variety of hosts. I can't say I intend on watching more, but overall I think they did a pretty solid job adapting the show for the new generation. And I am glad that the new generation has their own version of this show to enjoy. Assuming they have Apple TV. Who actually has Apple TV? Paramount Plus has more subscribers. What else is there to even watch on Apple TV? Meanwhile, the original show can still be viewed for free on YouTube and Roku. Maybe just stick to the classics, kids. So that was my massive Yo Gabba Gabba retrospective. It's been a long time coming. I've pretty much covered all aspects of what very well might have been my most formative show in my youth. Rewatching it, it's crazy how many memories come flooding back to me. I was obsessed, and I think I can now declare with confidence that it was my favorite show as a preschooler and younger, and very well might be my most nostalgic show. Period. The main takeaway is that it really feels like everyone ever involved in the show was having a blast and putting in their best effort, and the result was a show that was weird, creative, but most of all, awesome.
That's it.